OH, you're on mute. TJ, Mr. Graybeard, TJ, you got to unmute your microphone.
Dude, it's now on mute.
Nah, there you go. Now I can hear you.
It wasn't on mute, dude. I pressed no buttons at all.
You want to call your kids to have them teach you how to work the technology, Grandpa?
I didn't press any buttons, bro. That just popped up, like literally it popped up, like press mute. Where's mute?
I see. I was muted too. I see the look on Lou's face back there. He knows what happened.
I don't know what happened.
Lou muted us. He did.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He's shaking his head. No, but he did.
No, he wouldn't do that to us.
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I don't think so. He unmuted me. All right. So look, welcome into Hill Talk Sports. Got sidetracked there for a minute. I am your host, TJ Hill, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother extraordinaire, Scott Kennison. Lewis is on the keyboards, making this all happen, the magic behind the scenes. So a lot of things to talk about tonight. Bro, you mentioned it before we went on the air. You want to talk about it? You brought it up. Let's talk about it. I fully believe that if Ohio State had made it to the championship, that they would have won the championship against TCU. I believe that. I don't know if they would have scored that many points against them, but they would have won the game. I'm pretty sure. Yes. A lot of people I talk to after the game go, you had one job, kick the ball. Yes, that is true. But also, you blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead, bro. When the fourth quarter started, I'm like, they got a 14-point lead. All they got to do is run the ball, play smart, clock management, get a long, standing drive, wait till the game clock is down to like 2 to hike the ball, that kind of stuff. They couldn't do it. They couldn't maintain and hold the lead. Georgia came back with some explosive plays, and they won the game. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but might be a bad omen for Ohio State going in 2023. As the kick was kicked, the clock struck 12 at the same time. Now, that could be an omen saying, oh, it's going to be a horrible year for Ohio State, or that could be an omen saying, we messed up going into the year, but we're going to finish on a high note. I don't know. We're going to find out.
I'm going to say first and foremost that it was a good thing for Ohio State, its recruiting, its visibility. You went toe-to-toe with Georgia, a Georgia team that you see is significantly better than the team they played in the championship, and you gave them everything they could handle. Probably should have won the game. So especially if I'm a wide receiver, if I'm a quarterback, if I'm on the offensive side of the ball, I want to go to Ohio State. It's on the short list of schools. It always has been. But Ohio State did not hurt themselves in the recruiting battle in that game. That was the de facto national championship game. The winner of that game won the national championship. Didn't matter who they played. Weren't going to lose to Michigan again. They learned their lesson on that. And I think they did.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they know that they're not a power team.
Wait a minute.
They're not a power team. They're not going to try to be a power team going forward.
So you think next year they break the 2-year drought?
Oh, they do. They're not a power team. If you're not a power team, you don't go out tough a power team. That's all there is to it.
So
you're more athletic.
So Ryan Day for the last 2 seasons just had a hiccup when it came to that game?
Yes. Well, first off, this year's game should have been over at halftime. You had a whole bunch of shoot yourself in the foot misfires that took a game that probably should have been something like 28-3 or 31-10 at halftime and left it a competitive game and left them the ability to do what they did in the second half. Ultimately, Ryan Day forgot his identity 2 years in a row in that game, and it's a hard thing for Ohio State fans to stomach. But I'll say it again, when you can't line up against Northwestern in a bad weather game and just move their defensive line at will, you're not a power team. You're going to you are going to out-scheme your opponent. You're going to out-quick your opponent. And that's not a gimmick. You're simply faster. You can get to places on the field before they can. You don't forfeit that ability to sit there and say, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can put my 5 guys up against your 5 guys and move them 2 yards off the line and let my running backs move because I want to see if I can do it and send that message. You can't do it. You're not that team anymore. You haven't been that team probably since 2014, maybe 2015. The team that won in 2014 was a power running, blocking, physical team. This team isn't that, and it hasn't been that since Herb left, and it's not going to be because it's not how Ryan Day recruits. They remembered that identity against Georgia, and you saw what you should have seen from this team all year. And ultimately, that's a damn good Georgia team that simply played through the final whistle, and I feel bad for Noah Ruggles.
Why?
Day put him in a position to win that game, put the whole season down on him from 50 yards out. Now, yes, you're a competitor. You want to be in that situation. You dream of being in that situation. I'm going to tell you something. In good weather, when they played Iowa, I'm weird. I like to watch the kickers warm up. Noah Ruggles was very good from 48 and in. I didn't see him make a single kick from 50. Not only that, he didn't get them to the goalpost from 50. In warmups, off the tee, without a blitz. I don't think he's got 50 in his leg. I think that he knows that it's questionable that he's going to leave it short at 50. And I watched him try to put more on those kicks. And when you try to put more on the kick, you shank it horribly to the left. And if I know that, Ryan Day should know that. And you should have tried to get a few more yards. You should have tried to get a little closer. Ultimately, that was a 50-yard kick. And you let everything come down to a low percentage kick. I don't care how good you are. 50 yards is not a high percentage kick. And why do I feel bad for Noah Ruggles? Because, man, that's going to follow him for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life in Ohio, he's going to be Noah Ruggles who missed the kick to send him to the national championship game that they would have cakewalked to a victory in. He's the guy. He's Scott Norwood. And he missed a field goal wide left for all of it. And that's going to follow him. And it sucks. And it's not just going to follow him in Ohio. Wherever there's an Ohio State fan, it's going to follow him. He goes to Georgia, it's going to follow him. He's got to go somewhere where they don't play football. He's going to have that run into him at 70 years old somewhere.
But he can always counter with, they had a 14-point lead. Here's my issue with that. Yes,
I'm going to be honest with you. If this is why I feel for him too, and I maybe project myself and how I would react. I can tell you that there are still plays in my head that I'm replaying from beer league softball, old man flag football from years ago in my head that I wish I could do differently.
Absolutely.
That is something I would never, ever, ever mentally move past. I would be stuck in that moment for damn near the rest of my life.
You got to move past it.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but he got to do it, though. You're going to shut down the rest of his life because of a kick?
He's not going to shut down the rest of his life because of a kick.
So you got to keep moving. He missed the kick. Yes, he missed it. But he'll have a chance to redeem himself down the road. There'll be other kicks to make.
Not in college.
Well, then at the next level, then.
Maybe.
No.
Not if he doesn't have 50 in the leg.
Well, then he shouldn't have been a bad job recruiting then. Give me a 50
his last moment as a football player in a game that mattered might be in front of the entire country, shanking that kick horribly to the left.
That timeout did him in. Did you see the look on his face? That timeout he took, he looked so nervous. He was sitting there. His eyes got this big. And I was like, oh, he gonna miss his kick.
He tried to kill that ball. He was Charlie Brown kicking that football to the moon.
He tried to,
I mean,
Uh,
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Noah
he'll be all
Robles,
right.
man,
He'll be all right.
because it's
Big
not
boy.
his fault. It is not his fault. I'm going to say something else about this game. I hope it shuts up the fire Ryan Day crowd. Ryan Day is an amazing football coach. He should not be fired. People sit there and they say, you lost to Michigan twice. Your job is to win titles and to beat Michigan. That would be like saying that it's time to fire Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh because I haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time. You're not replacing Day with a better coach right now. You might get someone who can recruit better, but I'm not sure about that either. Where Day focuses his recruiting efforts, look at what he has done. Ryan Day, most Saturdays, he is the best coach on the football field. And for 3 quarters, he was the best coach on that football field. And I think he found his identity again. And ultimately, it is not, the grass is not always greener on the other side. You have been very lucky here with, and I'll say it and people say I'm crazy. You've been very lucky with John Cooper. Well, he couldn't win the big one. You're very lucky with Cooper, Tressel, Meyer, and then Day, because we don't know what a 3-loss season is. A lot of universities think a 3-loss season is good. Ohio State is firing everybody in a 3-loss season.
I mean,
we
I
barely know what a 2-loss season is.
I get what you're on that, but to say, I don't know, man. I got mixed emotions about that whole thing because I feel like this. I wouldn't say all the people saying fire Ryan Day should shut up. He still has to prove something to me. You guys, I ain't talking about national titles right now. I'm talking about you got to beat that school up north. You have to. You have to. No, I don't mean just you beat them 1 year. No, you're 1-2 against them. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You lost 5 games. 2 of those are the school up north.
We got spoiled. Tressel lost to them once, and Urban never did.
Yeah, we got spoiled.
You can't expect
okay. That's okay to be spoiled. It's okay to be spoiled. It's okay to enjoy when your team is victorious.
Even Woody was 50-50 against them.
That's before my time, so. But still, I digress. Bottom line is, I think Ohio State would have gone ahead and they would have won that game. It's a lot of faults to put into this. If
targeting call that wasn't.
If you don't lose week 12, you play in a different team, aren't you? Or were they ranked? They were ranked 2, right?
You are.
When they ranked 2?
But I think that had to happen.
So who are you playing? You playing TCU first round?
I think it had to happen.
I mean, it could be a builder for you if they take the loss and use it the correct way.
Like I think it had to happen for Ryan Day.
Ryan Day, it already happened in the previous year.
Yeah, sometimes it has to. The first time it happens, you might not get the message.
Well, that tickled. Do it again. Really?
And the second time it happens, sometimes it gets reinforced in your head that sometimes you can pass off one failure as a bad day. It repeating itself exactly the same way, you can.
You could do that with cutting the grass the wrong way or something like that. You can't do that when it comes to something like that. You're talking about millions and billions of dollars on the line. No.
You know what? No, the thing
we lost. It's okay. We'll be okay. Yeah.
The thing human beings do better than any other species on the planet is lie to ourselves.
We're talking about Ohio State, Michigan.
We are.
It's a different situation.
And at the end of the day, Ryan Day needed to, after last year's loss, not this year's, reflect and honestly look and say, why did we lose this game? And the answer would have been because I tried to coach this game in a style that isn't the best for my team because I thought I could line up and just knock them around physically and overpower them.
So you need to lose 2 years in a row to learn that.
Acknowledge his own failure, and I don't think he did.
What I'm asking you is,
out of that game thinking his team let him down.
Okay.
Comes back and does it again, and the same thing happens. Now there's nothing left to do but say, and some people still wouldn't do it, to say, I made the mistake. It is a very difficult thing to evaluate defeat and put the blame on yourself and say, what do I need to do differently? It's a lot easier to say, well, the team just didn't come fired up enough, and I just need to make sure that they understand that. No, he lost his identity. This is not who you are. And he got away with it during the season. And I think Ryan Day is going to be a better coach for losing to Michigan this year, 2 years in a row in that way. And there may become years where his identity is that he's a power rushing team and he should just dominate teams off the line of scrimmage. That's not who he is right now. That's not who this team is. That's not the team he's built. And sometimes you got to fail hard. And I think that's what separates winners from losers and successful people from those who don't succeed, is that when you fail, you have the ability to look at it and take yourself to task and say, where did I cause this? And I'm optimistic, based on the Georgia game, that Ryan Day has taken that lesson to heart, unlike another head coach in this town.
So didn't we lose to the School of North last season and then go play Utah, beat Utah, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we lost to them again this year. But then we lost to Georgia. Barely lost to Georgia, but we lost to Georgia. I'm having trouble. I understand what you're saying, but I'm having difficulty agreeing with it because of the magnitude of what was at stake. Coaching is about adjustments, making adjustments. You knew damn well what kind of team Michigan was when they beat you last year. Nothing's changed with them. They got better at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to come out there and pretty much run the same game plan you ran the previous year when you got your ass smacked, to run it back like that means you didn't make no adjustments. Good coaches make adjustments, even if it's the following year. He didn't do that.
They do.
I understand what you're saying about be patient with him. Don't fire him. I'm going to bring this up to you again. If they lose to them again, he has to go. If you go 11-1 next year and lose to them 3 years in a row, they're going to fire that man.
I think that's a knee-jerk reaction and a mistake.
Not
He's a young coach who's going to coach for a long time. He's probably never going to the NFL.
You cannot. You what?
No.
You cannot lose them 3 years in a row with that kind of talent, that kind of program. Especially if Harbaugh does leave to go to NFL and they got a new coach in there.
That's results-based, transactional-based, looking at the outcome.
Okay,
and trying to distill what you should do, huh?
How much is enough? 5 years in a row? Then you think, can they fire him? If you go 11-1 the next 5 years, no national championship, 11-1 next 5 years, but you're right there at the cusp to get in the championship game every year, but they put you out.
At some point, you will. But should Michigan have fired Harbaugh? Would they have been better off for that?
Who knows?
It seems like it would be hard for them to be better off. They were a game away from the national championship this year. And they haven't been there since Lloyd Carr was there.
Yeah, when they were losing to Ohio State all those years.
Yes, yeah. Should they have fired Harbaugh when he?
But they weren't in the run for the title that then. You see, when Ohio State beat Michigan, they weren't good. They weren't going for a title. When they beat us, they cost us the championship run 2 years in a row. It cost us 2 Big Ten titles.
Yeah.
When Michigan used to get beat by us all those years in a row when Harbaugh first got there, they weren't nothing on the line already. They already lost 3 or 4 games. You see what I'm saying?
I think it's the wrong question. You're asking me when is enough losses to Michigan to fire Ryan Day?
Consecutively, yes.
And it isn't about, to me, it's not about enough consecutive losses to Michigan. The question that you need to ask, in my opinion, is, can you replace him with something better? And I don't think you can right now. And if the answer to that is no, I don't know that I can go get better, then I'm stupid for taking a guy who's guaranteed probably to, at worst, lose 2 games a season, maybe 3 once for the next 10 years, and gamble that I can move Brian Hartline into that spot. I mean,
who's saying about Brian Hartline?
I'm just throwing a name out there.
Listen.
Luke Fickell?
We've been doing this back and forth. He's from Wisconsin.
I don't know if you can get better. I don't know if you can get better.
It's always somebody better. It's always somebody, but you got to find them. There's guys out there that haven't even sniffed it yet. That's going to be.
Browns have been trying that for 20 years.
The Browns is horrible because Haslam's in charge. That's not a different. That's a different.
What
situation.
About before Haslam was in charge?
Different situation.
You always think
it's always bad management. It's always bad management here for the Browns.
And Ohio State doesn't do that. Ohio State sticks with their coaches. Ohio State sticks with their plan. They have continuity. Yeah,
they win.
And right now, Ryan Day is winning. To run him out of town, because of the way the last.
But he's losing the wrong games.
but he's getting to those games. And if you fire him, he might not even get to those games. They might not get to those
What
games.
do you mean
And
he's
then you don't
getting into
even
those
have
games? There's games on the schedule. It's week 12 every year.
No. He's getting to. He got to the de facto national championship game this year.
Backed in this year because
He's getting you to week 12,
USC
11
hadn't
0.
lost, if USC hadn't
Sure.
lost, we would be playing Kansas State or some shit like that.
Yeah,
correct?
and if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a wheelbarrow.
But who would have cost us that? Who would have cost us that chance to go? Who would have cost that chance to go to championship?
I mean,
that's
Michigan.
Gold North. Okay. So if you get to that place every year, and you're right on the cusp of a national championship, and that one school costs you that every single year, you got a problem.
Maybe, but you still have the
it's
chance.
Not a maybe.
Are you
it's,
certain?
It's not a maybe.
How does it look? How does it look when you get rid of that person and then you don't even get to that opportunity? You get to week 12 and you're 7-4.
How you know you won't get there? How you know you won't get there?
How do you know?
How you know the guy coming? How you know the guy coming in ain't gonna just go ahead and bust out and just go off?
I know what I have. I know what I have in my hand.
You have a guy that's going to
really
lose
good.
to Michigan every year. It's not really good.
I have one of the 5 best on-field coaches on Saturday in college football. I have one of the top 5 recruiters year in and year out in college football. And there are about 4 guys, maybe, that you know that you should consider replacing him with. And if you don't have one of them, that's a dumb gamble.
Come November next year, when they go to the big house, if they lose, I'm just going to look at you like this. You happy, Scott? You happy with them 11
I'm not going to be happy, but that doesn't mean I want to go get a new coach who I'm pretty sure isn't going to be better.
Okay. If he keep losing to him, we come back to this conversation. And I'm gonna look at you when you say fire his ass. I'm gonna say, but he's a great coach. What are you doing?
You got Dabo. You got Saban coming here. You got Herb coming out of retirement.
You're looking at guys that's already been there. It could be somebody out there we ain't heard of yet.
No. I don't want somebody we ain't heard of yet.
This is Ohio State. Nobody that. What'd you say? It's who?
This is Ohio State.
And we don't fucking lose to Michigan 2 years in a row. We don't do that here. It's not allowed.
I don't want to fire what I know is one of the elite coaches in the NCAA and hope that the next look when Herb.
Why is he elite though? Why
look
is
at how
elite?
he look at his recruiting classes. Look at the results. Look at the results. No one right now can match this man's. Almost no one can match this.
The
man's
results
resume.
are.
Look at the
I'm gonna say what the results are. As an Ohio State fan, the results are they're soft.
Okay.
They're soft.
But
you know why they're soft?
You know why they're regular season team under
and they losing to the wrong goddamn team, Scott. Period.
That is an emotional fan analysis of
and it's
who
the
should
truth,
be the head coach.
And it's the truth.
From a perspective, like Obi-Wan Kenobi would say, you'll find many of the truths that we cling to are true only from a certain point of view.
You keep losing to me. Go ahead and keep losing to him and see what happens.
I'm not sure he's going to keep losing to them.
Yeah, he is. Anyways, all right. Let's move on.
We're writing his epitaph a little early.
We're gonna F around and find out, okay? Because I believe that dude's soft overall, and until he proves me wrong, I'm gonna keep on with that thought.
You can be soft in winning this. You can be soft and win football as long as you know how you got to do it. You sure can beat that school up north.
Then he better
do it. Do what you do.
Then he better do it. Then, anyways,
instead of trying to run Henderson up the middle or off tackle, just keep running Marvin Harrison on slants, crosses, post, and flies because they can't cover him because no one can cover him. If you're not in the NFL on Sunday, you can't cover him. That's why you target him in the end zone and nearly destroy him to get him out of the game. Ryan Day just has to remember who he is. All right,
well, if you
I'm
keep forgetting who you are, something's wrong. If you don't know who you are going in, something's wrong.
Forgetting who you are.
If you don't know who you are going in, something is wrong. You know, when you go to work, you know who you are, right?
Yeah, but that's called growth and development.
Okay.
I recently forgot.
He's one of the best, though. He's one of the best. You shouldn't have to remember who you are if you're one of the best.
Sometimes you can forget.
Nah, I ain't buying that crap, man. I ain't buying that.
The realization to remember who your identity is and what your identity is
don't know who you are. Wake up in the morning is a problem.
People.
If you wake up in the morning, don't know who you are is a problem. Period.
There are times where you know who you are, but you start leading and acting in a way that isn't who you are. And the people who are successful will remember that, realize it, and change that before they become unsuccessful and fail completely.
I understand something. He doesn't have the luxury to do that because he's the leader of men, supposedly. So he
But he
can't do
does.
that. He can't do that.
Well, he's got the luxury of it because he's coming back to coach next year.
Yeah,
but
because
he's running out of the luxury of doing it.
Yet. Alumni ain't get pissed off yet. You lose next year, it's going to be a different conversation.
He needs to come back next year and remember that he is a coach who's going to out-athlete you and not out-tough you.
We shall see. All right, moving on. So, championship game was a bust, as we saw. Is it next year they're going 12 teams or the year after? 23, 24.
I don't remember exactly when they're doing that. I'll look it up.
All right. But moving on, though. If they go to 12 teams next year, 12 teams, right? It's 12 or 8? It's 12, right? And the first top 4 get a bye? I believe it's
24-25 season. They're going to go to a 12
So
this
next year is the last year of the top 4 then.
Yep.
I'm glad that's happening because I want to see if they're going to be in the top 4 at the end of the season next year, or is that other team going to knock them out again? So if they knock them out 3 years in a row, Scott, your boy forgot who he was again, I guess. I don't know. Anyways,
I like the 12 team. I like the 12 team playoff idea in some ways because it will make for a better postseason.
Well, I think it would make more exciting matchups for one.
But it ruins the magic of the regular season. Right now, you have a 12-game postseason.
I mean, I don't think it ruins it. I think it makes it more exciting because these games are going to mean everything now. For a team that's like, I don't know, Boise State or whatever, that's ranked number 10, they got a legitimate shot to do something. Once you're in the playoffs, everything's open. And I think what they do need is some fresh blood there. Now, don't get me wrong, I love for Ohio State to be there every year. The Alabamas and the Clemsons, but it's getting kind of like, it's like watching WWE and watching the same match 3 weeks in a row. Like, when y'all gonna fight somebody else? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I've seen this before.
And in that regard, it's going to be, as I said, I'm of two minds on it. In one hand, it's going to be great because it's going to liven up the postseason, and you're going to have some of the more games down the stretch that mean something. But it's also going to take away from the reason to go watch Ohio State play Iowa in Week 7. There's now no reason to really watch that game because even before, if Ohio State lost that game, it was huge. Now it doesn't matter. They can lose that game, and it doesn't mean a thing.
It's also going to help out with a lot of betting, too.
Yeah.
It's also going to help out. Betting is going to be crazy next year for these games.
And as long as there's gambling, people will watch because
absolutely
people are watching college football a lot because they're betting on it, not because, man, Ohio State needs to win today against Iowa so they can still make the national championship game. Those are people like me, but, you know.
Okay. Now, let's switch focus for a minute because we spent a lot of time on Ryan Day's ignorant, but anyways, so let's move on to the NFL playoffs now. We have some matchups coming up this weekend that I think are somewhat decent. Oh, real quick, sports break. Your update here. Cavaliers are losing 32-17 with 2:14 left in the first quarter to, that's not the Cavaliers, is it? That's the Bucks and the Hawks. My bad. Drinking too many tequila shots. Sorry, getting a little ahead of myself. They play Utah tonight, don't they? Well, they played them last night. They lost. They lost to them last night. But they'd be okay, though. I like the Cavaliers. They're pretty good. All right, so here we go. The wild card here. It is an exciting, fun team. And I like it because they're homegrown. All right, so we have Saturday, 2 playoff games, Scott. 2 playoff games. What I want to do is get your thoughts on these games and maybe a prediction. Can I get a prediction out of you? Come on. First game, we got Seattle at the 49ers. 49ers are, I think the 49ers are coming out of the NFC, honestly, even without Garoppolo. I think they're just loaded. Defense is playing great. This young quarterback got a chip on his shoulder. He has nothing to lose, bro. Go out there and ball out and have fun and play. He's living his best life right now. And they get McCaffrey back too. So the weapons they have coming up for the playoffs is going to be sick. Is Geno healthy? Is Geno still playing?
I know necessarily
Tua
know if it matters if Geno Smith is playing or not. I
don't
think
be surprised.
49ers win no matter what.
So that will surprise you, though. I think the 49ers take this win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be like a 1-score game. Like a 10-7 or a 20-17, something like that. I don't think it's going to be more than a 10-point win. So you got 49ers also?
Yeah. Geno Smith, I'm seeing, is going to be playing. Look, it's a great story for him.
It is.
Fifth
It
in
is.
passer rating. It's you got to love this story. He was written off.
Oh,
High
yeah.
draft pick,
Literally, when they said
written
Geno Smith
off.
going, I'm like, they gonna suck this year. And they in the playoffs. They play in the
Yeah,
first round, 9-8.
people laughed at me for drafting DK Metcalf because they're like, you really trust Geno Smith throwing DK Metcalf the ball this year? Okay, but the Geno Smith comeback story is fantastic, but I think
It
it ends
is.
here. I think it ends here.
Yeah, I think they're done here. Hopefully next year he can still come back out there and do the same thing and try to survive his career, get a good contract before he retires. You got AFC wild card matchup is going to be the Chargers at the Jaguars. This is very interesting here because over the Jaguars were last year compared to where they're at this year. It's like a shot of adrenaline they put in them. They're a tougher team. They play good. I honestly think they're going to upset the Chargers and beat them.
I think they've got a chance at that. This is a game that I think will be close, at least close for a while, because the Jaguars are coming in on a lot of raw emotion and they've got nothing to lose. They're not supposed to be here, so they can come
Exactly.
in and play free.
Exactly.
But I think ultimately that the talent will tell. And I think that San Diego will win this game.
Me
I
and
think
Los
ultimately
Angeles.
talent will tell. Los Angeles.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we disagree on that one. So let's go to Sunday's games real fast. Ooh. Who is this guy starting into his place? And he's like the third string quarterback?
Yeah. Off
God,
the
that
practice
doesn't look
squad
good.
and
That's not good.
no.
Yeah, Bills all day.
Bills all day. They're toast.
If the Bills lose this game, it gotta be one of the biggest upsets in the wild card period.
Yeah,
Seriously.
they weren't winning it with Tua. They had a chance with Tua, but they're
13,
not winning
dude.
it without him.
13.
I mean, they might have a chance, like a crazy chance with Teddy Bridgewater, but I mean, they're not winning this game
No, they
without
ain't
both
gonna win.
those guys.
Plus, that storm's coming in.
Yep.
We're gonna get rain tomorrow, and then we'll get the snow on Friday. But whatever we get in Cleveland, they get it worse in Buffalo. So they're
Yep.
gonna have another snowstorm out there in Buffalo to play in. So and Miami's coming from the tropical area. So yeah, it's gonna all that stuff factors in.
That could be an even. Honestly, if you're going to go into a playoff game with the third string quarterback, you want the weather to be as bad as possible.
But the only problem is the team you're playing is used to playing in that. It's home
Yeah,
turf
it
for them. It's
doesn't.
nothing.
You still don't want to play. You don't want to go up against Josh Allen with your third string quarterback in perfect weather conditions.
Oh God.
Wait,
I still
you
think
have no chance.
Buffalo wins by double digits at least.
It's a neutralizer. Remember Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan? The Matara Nebula? And they say shields will be inoperative and phasers, and Spock says sauce for the goose. That's what bad weather is for Miami here. It evens out the Josh Allen advantage.
Okay. NFC wildcard playoff game. We have the Giants at the Vikings. I don't know who to pick this one. I think New York can beat them. I think New York can beat them.
It's also kind of the who cares game of the weekend because I
It
don't think
is.
either team that wins is going anywhere, but I'm going to go with the Vikings.
It is, but all year long, people have been saying the Vikings are smoke and mirrors. Like they're not as good as everybody said they're going to be. They had that game against Indy where they came back 33 down or whatever it was. It's a tough one.
I'm going to go with the Vikings.
I'm going to go to upset on this one. I'm going to go with the Giants going there winning. I'm going to go with the Giants.
I don't have a strong feeling on it either way. It's the who gives a crap
kind of
game
throwing
of
a
the
coin
weekend.
on it. Throwing a coin on that one.
Yep.
Ravens and Bengals. Cincinnati's advancing, bro.
Is Miller playing? Jackson. I'm sorry, Jackson.
No, I don't think he is. I think it's a wrap for Ravens.
And yes, they have no chance if he's not playing.
I believe he's out.
What I'm seeing 4 hours ago, uncertain, and he missed practice.
Oh, he's out, bro. Cincinnati got a 71% chance of winning this game, according to a predictor here.
But honestly, I think Cincinnati wins it no matter what. They're rolling right now, and I mean,
they got hot again at the right time.
Yep, Cincinnati's as good as it gets right now.
Yeah, and the final game of the weekend will be Monday. Since they playoff games on Mondays.
Ratings.
So now we're gonna play a game on Thursday pretty soon, probably.
Yeah, of course.
No,
Cowboys, you'll never see that short week. They won't do that. They
Yeah.
won't short week them in the playoffs. They won't do that. Well, Saturday's a short week, but they won't 3-day week
Oh,
them.
Monday's a holiday too, so that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Buccaneers. That's a tough
Old
one.
man Brady. You can't bet against old man Brady in the playoffs. You just don't know which Dallas Cowboy team you're going to get.
That's the
And I
problem. You don't
think,
know Dallas should win this game,
yep,
but like you just said, what team's gonna show up? What team's gonna show up? So
I
I gotta go with Tampa.
I think Tom Brady's got one last, maybe not more than one game in him, but I think he's got a win right here left in that tank. So I'm gonna go with like I've said it before. Give me Brady. I'm not taking Tampa. I'm taking Brady in this game, even though he hasn't been himself. I'm taking Brady in this game.
I agree with you. I'm taking Brady also. I think Tampa Bay's gonna pull us out and win.
But
Even
Tom
though
didn't torpedo his marriage to come back and eke into the playoffs and lose in the wild card game.
I think that I think Tampa Bay gonna take this one too. So I know it's about you're right. It is bet on Brady, don't bet on Tampa because Brady does find ways to do miraculous things. But I think Dallas should win this game, but I don't want to all the way go in there and say they're gonna win it. Does that make
I
sense?
heard, yeah. You just don't know with Dallas. They're so up and down. But I also heard that Tom Brady's been in communication with Belichick, and they've set up some cameras all season, and he's got all the tapes that
Stop it.
Belichick has on Dallas. So, paid him. Bill said, I'll help you out here.
You crazy.
It's always just weird that the opposing team's headset goes out early at Foxborough in critical moments, isn't it?
I mean, yeah. All right. So look,
Death, taxes, and the headset
we
and the
gotta
visiting
switch
team
focus
cutting out
here.
at Foxborough.
Gotta switch focus for a second. We gotta switch focus for a second. I know this is necessarily a sports talk show, but we gotta go back to our old ways for a minute, Scott, because something big happened today. Now I'm hearing other stories throughout the day that it's not true, but I'm hearing multiple places saying that it is true. It is either going to be a done deal or already is a done deal. So we know we're talking about the WWE right now and how, long story short, let's do a recap. Vince McMahon was relieved of his duties because of some mishappenings with ladies.
Impropriety.
Thank you. Impropriety, where he paid over $19 million plus to keep them quiet. Obviously, millions of dollars don't make people shut up. But anyways, I don't think the women actually say anything. I think somebody found out about it and kind of like put it out there in their news. So Vince stepped down. Stephanie took over as co-CEO with Nick Khan, no relation to Tony Khan, who owns the Jaguars. So they've been running the company for a while now, starting to get a little better shows, a little more edgier. Triple H is doing most of the calls now. NXT is doing stuff with Shawn Michaels, so that's trying to get back to the attitude area a little bit. Now the rumor I heard was this: the deal with Fox and USA is going to expire in 2023. Where around the campfire is Netflix is going to start live streaming shows, either in late 23 or early 24. Don't know if it's true or not. Heard it was in the works. The rumor is that before any of this happened with Vince, the rumor was that when the deal is over with USA and Fox, both shows, SmackDown and Raw, will be exclusively on Netflix live. As we know, Netflix does not censor most things, cussing, whatever you want to be. Even that show, Manifest, they cuss on there now. There was an NBC show that got canceled. Picked it up. They cuss on that show now. So it's cable TV, basically. They do what they want to do. So with
Yeah.
that being said, wrestling, WWE, could pretty much be uncensored and do whatever they want to do if they were on Netflix. Now, Stephanie this morning woke up to a thing on Instagram. Stephanie is stepping down again because her dad's back. And Nick Khan is the sole CEO now. She stepped away and she retired from the business. She said, I'm not only stepping away, I'm also retiring. Thanks for everything, blah, 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 blah. So about an hour after I read that, you know, you go to your phone and Google pops up and they got all kind of different stories, what's going on, this and that. Vince McMahon pictures pop up and says, Vince McMahon has sold the WWE to the Saudis. If this remains to be true, that means that Saudi Arabia owns all of professional wrestling in the United States now. Now, what does this mean going forward if this happens? Are they going to start moving shows overseas now? Are they going to make them wrestlers come overseas and wrestle? What happens to the women that wrestle for WWE? Do they have to wear all kind of different clothes now? Now, you got to figure they won't have to in the United States because, again, you have Tony Khan who owns the Jaguars and who owns AEW, and the women wear regular wrestling clothes or whatever they wear. AEW is a different breed. I don't know if you watched it or not. They do a lot of cussing over there. A lot of cussing. And I mean, they ain't beeping anything out. I know it's on TBS or TNT, but they let it roll. So I think that what they're going to try to do is WWE try to match them and just let the wrestlers do whatever they want to do. But I'm also hearing a few wrestlers said they're going to quit if they had to move over to Saudi Arabia to do wrestling. Sami Zayn has an issue with this. So Sami Zayn, whatever his past is, I'm not sure what it is, he's not allowed to go to Saudi Arabia to wrestle. Neither are the Usos. Usos can't even go to Canada right now because one of them had a DUI. They can't even get over across the border. That's why when he did a show in Canada, it wasn't the Usos with Roman Reigns. It was just his little brother. So other countries have different rules. You want to go international? You got to deal with that. So, what are you thinking about this, Scott? Do you think Vince really sold the company?
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I am willing to say with 100% certainty that as we sit here right now, that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund does not officially own the WWE, and here's why. The WWE is a publicly traded corporation. It cannot be sold without a shareholder vote. Even though Vince may have the majority of those shares, the vote has to happen, and the votes have to be recorded. There's a meeting. There's discussions. There are filings that have to happen with the
Let
SEC.
me stop you right there.
Yep.
This is what I heard. I heard there was a meeting.
With who?
I believe the shareholders.
And that would be every shareholder, including everyone who owns one share of the WWE, would have been given a notification by email and mail.
Maybe they did. We don't know that. Do we know anybody that owns stock?
If there was, I feel that someone in this country would have came forward and been able to send would have been able to show you the proof of this. The fact that not one person has come forward tells me that that vote has not happened. And there are no SEC filings at the moment, which has to happen. You also have to have due diligence where each side gets advised. None of that is out there. I have heard that the WWE has retained due diligence to look at a sale, but the rumors that I'm seeing do not include the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. It would make sense for the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia to buy the WWE, as they've done with the stake in LIV Golf and other sporting investments as they look to diversify from oil. But I am confident in saying, as we sit here right now, that the WWE is a publicly traded company and that you can go buy and sell your ownership in it tomorrow because it's still being traded on the stock market. And had it been sold, you couldn't buy and sell shares in the stock market today. Even if it was, there would be a closing price on those shares. You would know that the deal had been struck. Look when Elon went to take Twitter private and how long we knew about that before it happened. Elon Musk didn't just buy Twitter and he had it the next day. There was a massive process of him making a bid, filings, government approval. So the fact of the matter is that this is a sensationalistic story at the moment. It is possible that somebody got told that there was a meeting among the officers and the board members and the directors where they agreed to start pursuing sale options, and that the most interested bidder is the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, and that it is all but a done deal. So it is very possible that the deal is all but done behind scenes, and that the board of directors and the largest owners simply need to now go through the motions of filing an SEC notice and putting it to a vote of the shareholders. But this being a publicly traded company, as of today, it has not been sold. Has not happened.
But the shareholders can't stop it, can they?
Depends who owns the majority.
Vince McMahon owns the majority.
Does he own 51%?
Over 51, I believe over 51%.
Okay. Then they can't. They cannot. You could attempt to, since it's a publicly traded company, you could attempt to have a hostile takeover where somebody buys up the shares, and in the process, Vince has to sell some of his shares, and temporarily it dips down under 51. But quite honestly, I'm also going to say none of this makes sense. Vince McMahon bullied his way back onto the board to retake his spot as chairman.
I believe that's what I've heard.
It doesn't fit with his personality.
This is a rumor last week that he's coming back to sell it.
Yeah, it's
the rumor last week was Vince McMahon's coming back to sell it. When I first read that, I was like, he ain't coming back. They let him go. He's done. He's done. But he is back.
I put it at a 50%.
I think
this is the greatest work in WWE history.
No, I don't think it's a work. I think it leaked too early. I think they're talking about it and it leaked.
I think they're definitely looking to sell. They've squeezed about all the juice they can out of this orange, and they kind of realize, and Vince is getting old, and Shane doesn't really want to do it anymore, and I don't think Stephanie wants to anymore. And the falling out with Shane and Vince and Linda are getting old. So, yeah, it'd be a nice time for profit taking and to ride off into the sunset. Because, I mean, ultimately, but there's so much more to this that has to happen. Honestly, there could be, I think what happened is there were leaked internal talks of the WWE board of directors.
I think I know what happened.
Discussing selling, and the fact that the public investment fund of Saudi Arabia is the most likely buyer.
I think that they are talking to Saudis about selling. And I think when Vince came back, it pissed a lot of board members off. And somebody leaked that they were doing it. Because I just looked right now, and there's 5 different sites saying it's a done deal. But then you got a couple that saying it's not done. It's on the table, but it's not signed.
Yeah, have you noticed it's none of the big boys?
Well, TMZ just said it's not a done deal.
And TMZ isn't even a big boy.
Not a big boy.
None of the really reputable. You're not seeing Reuters.
They find out a lot of stuff, whatever.
They do. They do. And first off, if it was a done deal, they have to make a tender to take the company private. So the public investment fund of Saudi Arabia would have to tell you what the price that they're going to pay per share is. So like when Elon bought Twitter, you knew what the price was. So you would know that. It would be out there.
Well,
if it was a real sale, it would be out there, and you would know exactly what you were going to get per share and when the closing date would be.
Okay, so if this does happen, they will take the company private again.
Yes.
Do you know why? I know why.
I mean, ultimately, I don't know that, but I mean, I'm sure the public investment fund of Saudi Arabia isn't looking to lose that investment either.
This is why they'll take it private.
They're doing that. That is a national. That would be like if Washington, D.C. had a public investment fund. All of the money that comes out of WWE at that point goes to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's government money.
Another reason to take it private is because if you take it private, you can do and air whatever content you see fit because you're not answering to any shareholders anymore.
No, you're still answering to advertisers.
The WWE, they don't care about advertisers over in Saudi Arabia. They got more money. They could buy advertisement. They don't care. They got God money. They got FU money over there.
Netflix, is where you don't so much care about advertising.
I don't think they were moved the female wrestlers, Lou. I think that they would handle them differently. You'll lose your fans. You'll lose your
MBS.
You'll lose your fans.
Mohammed bin Salman has a way of showing two faces to the world, and he's building a Saudi Arabia that, from external appearances, is very modern to attract that investment. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that you will see any change in the content. And I don't think you'll see any change in the treatment of the female wrestlers.
I think that you'll see content changing as far as it getting more like the Attitude Era.
Yes. If anything, it's going to go the opposite.
Exactly.
MBS is on one hand preserving some traditionalism, but on the other hand, and I mean, On the other hand, he is doing a smoke and mirror show where he says, look at how open, modern, progressive, and Western Saudi Arabia is becoming. And that's, the display side.
Exactly.
So WWE will be the propaganda arm. When they show when they came over for Royal Rumble and they showed the pictures of women finally being able to drive on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And WWE said how progressive and modernized Saudi Arabia is now. And they made sure they said that. They show you it's going to be the propaganda reel. And the WWE will be the way of showing, look what happens when you do business with the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. You get all of our money and you get to do what you want to do. And we don't control you. Just give us our profit. Same thing with LIV Golf. I mean, you're seeing the public face, the display face, the make money face, the front man of the band. And that fits entirely with what Mohammed bin Salman's doing over there. That said, I think we're far from this sale going through. If it does go through, it's months down the road because of the process of what needs to go down for a public company to be sold. And from a fan's perspective, you won't notice anything different when it goes down. The only difference will be that every single time you buy a pay-per-view, you're sending money directly to the government of Saudi Arabia, which will be used by that government to horribly oppress women. Ooh. So you need to be comfortable with that.
Maybe that's why Stephanie resigned.
Oh, I don't doubt it. You want to be working for a company where the revenue, I mean, if that's true, I mean, there are some moral implications to popping on the WWE if it's owned by the moral implications of LIV Golf. Yeah. If you watch an LIV Golf event, that money's going back to that sovereign wealth fund, and that sovereign wealth fund is funding the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and you still don't necessarily want to be a woman living in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And if you're okay with that, as I sit here wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey, knowing who our quarterback is, there's just a moral implication to sort your way through. And that's going to be the biggest thing for the fan. And quite frankly, as I've seen in sports all my life, we will set those moral qualms aside and watch what entertains us. Because are you not entertained? And I probably just woke up my daughter, and I'm in trouble.
You probably did. Now you got to deal with that. You did that your own. That's your fault.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you did. You messed up. You effed up. I don't know, man. We're going to watch this story develop if it is developing, or I don't think it's a shoot. I don't think it's a work, though.
I think the WWE is getting sold. I don't necessarily think it's not. Yeah, I know for 100% fact right now that it is not owned by Saudi Arabia.
Would you prefer?
There may be a behind-the-scenes offer in the works.
Would you prefer if it was sold to an American company or to Saudi Arabia?
I would not. I would rather have this sold to an American company than to the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia.
Because of where the money goes and how they treat
because of where the money ultimately is going.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. It's not, I mean, it could be going to worse places, but it's not directly going to a government that still is, by Western standards, oppressive to women.
It's going to be an interesting year how all this goes down, man. Very interesting. All right, we're going to go.
This isn't the last thing that's going to happen. The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia is going to have its hands in a lot of properties because they know that, it's not as soon as the Greens in the world would like to think, that the clock is ticking on their pretty much primary source of revenue in oil. So they are diversifying into whatever other properties they can get their hands on. So it's going to happen. It is going to happen. I would just prefer that it happens that process modernizes some things in the struggle for human rights.
I think it's kind of funny that we're 5 years into a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia with the WWE to do shows over there.
Mm-hmm.
They signed a contract in 2018. So
I don't think Vince was ready to sell in 2018. I think he's ready to sell now.
No, he's ready to sell now.
He's investigating it. And I think this is a sensationalistic story that should have been fact-checked better. And just rudimentary fact-checking would have said that it had not been sold. And I'm mad at myself for not coming to this realization earlier in the day. Rudimentary fact-checking would have said that had it actually been sold.
But you know what?
So many things that had to have happened couldn't have happened.
This morning, almost every outlet was saying it was sold, and then by maybe 1 o'clock, they were saying no, it's not sold.
Yep.
So everybody was
Any
on board with
journalist
it
who
this morning.
ran with that as being, quote, sold and
Yeah.
ran that headline should be disappointed with themselves because
It's a
it
lot of
could
disappointment out
not
there.
possibly have happened.
I think that it's almost a done deal, or it's about to be a done deal, or you're going to push it to be a done deal, and it got leaked by somebody that doesn't. Because I
If
heard
you want
Vince
to know
fires
how
people today
far
too.
away this is to being a done deal, just think back to the Elon Musk buying Twitter saga. That's how far away this is.
Well,
Even if there's a deal in principle, it is months away from closing.
I understand that, but if it's smoke, might be some fire there. We're going.
They're looking to sell.
We're going
They are,
FAFO.
I think this is going to come out to be bad journalism.
I like that. All right.
Specifically as to who and when, and they may buy it in the end. But what was released today was bad National Enquirer level journalism, that rudimentary fact checking and journalism 101 classes, which is the farthest I got into journalism, would tell you that you shouldn't have ran with.
Probably so. All right, Scott. We're going to cut it off for now. We'll come back to you in 2 weeks for another show of Hill Talk Sports. This year is going to be a lot of exciting things. We're launching a new sports show, replace Hill Talk Sports with something different. And we're also going to start another podcast. That's more of a variety podcast to talk about different subjects other than sports. So it's going to be a little more raunchier. And Scott and I probably get fired from our jobs. But that's okay. We'll be okay.
Not happening.
All right, man.
I will tell you, here's my, I'm going to make this determination right now, and I'm going to stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about it in 2 weeks. Deshaun Watson is not a good NFL quarterback. He's not good. It's all a lie.
Really?
He is not good. He holds the ball too long. He doesn't see open receivers. He doesn't make post-snap reads. He is where is my pre-snap read guy open? And if not, can I extend the play until somebody comes open or hit my check down? He holds the ball too long. He does not change his reads based on post-snap activity. Deshaun Watson is every bad quarterback that I've watched in Cleveland for the last 22 years. He is not good.
I think that is a knee-jerk reaction.
I've waited 7 games, but
he plays his game, Scott. He plays this game after not playing for 2 years.
Yep.
How would you do? Take 2 years off flag football and see if you're good right away.
Yeah, but you know what? He's practicing every day, every week
with the ones. Things, bro.
Yeah, but the rush should be off. He's 6 games in. He's not seeing
the rush will not be off till week 4 of next year.
Okay. But, he held the ball too long in Texas. All of these criticisms saying of him existed in Texas and in Houston. And again, I said this. I don't know if he was.
You said he was.
Listen,
Scott.
That was the consensus. And stats can mislead. And I'm getting to see how he plays. And I've seen bad quarterback play for a long time, and I know it when I see it.
Okay.
And if the Browns needed to win on Sunday, they started the wrong quarterback.
Woo. Scott, we're going to come back to this conversation.
He holds the ball. If you just watched him and you didn't know he was Deshaun Watson, you would not want this guy quarterback.
So who would you rather have over him?
Right now, we would have had a better chance of winning games with Jacoby. The offense got worse. The defense got better, which is why we won games.
Do you know why?
The offense got worse.
Do you know why there were so many holding calls when Deshaun Watson took over at quarterback?
Yeah, because Deshaun Watson holds the ball longer. Lineman can block for 2.5 seconds.
He moves around so much. Brissett sat in the pocket and threw the ball.
Yeah.
Watson likes to run around. So, yeah, they thinking he holding the ball about to run the ball. He still got the ball in his hand.
Exactly.
Scrambling. They hold him because they don't know how to block for this guy.
It's very hard.
It took them 3 weeks
to block that long.
If you notice, the holding calls went down for like 4 weeks. Holding calls went down because they learned how to block for him.
But ultimately, you're still going to have those holding calls eventually because you can't block for 6 seconds without holding. What else? You know what else is going to happen? Your offensive line is going to be really, really tired, far more tired, far quickly than it is, because it's blocking longer on every play and moving around more and running around more. And those guys aren't known for their cardio.
Well,
it's going to hurt your run blocking. You know what? Your play scripting. Do you know why your play scripting hasn't looked as good since Deshaun Watson came back?
Newsflash for you.
Because the ball's not out quick enough to be within the play.
Newsflash.
Yeah.
Barring injury, I'm going to end it with this. We'll be talking about it in 2 weeks. Barring a crazy injury before the next 4 years are up, I'll say within the next 2 years, the Browns will trade Nick Chubb.
Probably.
You know why? You know why, right?
You need the money. And you got a ticking clock on a running back. Look, you got an expiration date on running backs at 28.
And they're going to turn into a more passing team. They're going to try to get some receivers for this guy.
I'm just going to tell you.
I'm surprised they get Hopkins yet. Try to work out a deal with Hopkins.
The Cleveland Browns,
really am surprised about
Cleveland Browns are, in my opinion, mired in mediocrity for the next 5 years. They don't have the cap space, the money, or the picks.
I don't disagree.
And it was for every.
I want to disagree with you, but I can't.
Yep. And for all of those reasons, you shouldn't have committed to Deshaun Watson, because you had to know that he was the best quarterback in the league, and that if you added him to only what you had, you were a Super Bowl contender, and you're not. And he's not the best quarterback in the league. And for those reasons right there, no, but he had to be. You gave him $230 million guaranteed, gave up 3 draft picks, took away your draft picks for the next 3 years, took away your ability to sign people, took away your ability to really make trades for a guy that had 4 seasons, hasn't played in 2 years, and you really still weren't completely positive if the guy who won 4 games in his last full season is who he is, or the guy who won, I think, 11 or 12 games the year before was.
Wait a minute.
Stats can lie. And this is a guy who does not make post-snap reads. And if my quarterback isn't making post-snap reads, I don't feel too confident. He misses. Watch when he's leaving the pocket. Watch when he's taking sacks. Watch when he's scrambling around. On almost every single play in the replay, he's missed a wide-open guy.
Let me check something real quick.
I digress.
Whoa. So Houston has their own pick and our pick, right?
Yep. I think.
Yeah. They got our first round next year. Which would be what?
It ain't going to be 12. Terrible. Yeah.
12. Would have picked 12. So I would almost rather ran it back with Baker Mayfield one more year and just pick 12th this year.
I'd have rather ran the whole year with Jacoby and draft.
Baker had given us a better record than the record we have now.
No.
About the same, right? We're still picking top 15.
You have it didn't matter who the quarterback was this year. You don't have defensive tackles. You don't have enough linebackers. You weren't winning games, and it just didn't matter. The problem now is you don't have the ability to fix it. And this is going to sound insane, but I would trade Deshaun Watson if I could to get whatever picks back I could in the cap space.
You can't trade him now. Nobody want him. Nobody gonna touch him.
No, he ain't worth it.
Nobody gonna touch him.
But the Browns are in trouble.
Year
Browns
2
are in a lot of trouble.
If you ball out next year, maybe.
I hope I'm wrong. And I
said that point, if he balls out, you ain't gonna trade him at that point because he balling out. So
I said this on Twitter. I know why everyone wants me to be wrong and why people get mad at me, because if I'm right, the Browns are 10 years before they dig out of this hole. Because they're locked into Watson's contract, and then they can start digging out of it, and it's 8 to 10 years before you can become what you need to be again, if I'm right. And this guy is just a mediocre, run-of-the-mill, nothing special quarterback, which is what I think he probably is.
It's
something
in 2035 before they're decent again.
And nobody wants to believe that. If I'm wrong,
years.
And I'm very, very happy to be wrong. I'm very, very happy to be wrong. We're a Super Bowl contender next year. But if I'm right, and off of the play that I've seen in 6 games, I'm right. Because the only argument anyone has to me right now is he looks bad because it's rust. And with a full off-season, preseason training camp, he will look good next year. But you know what? There should be no excuses right now. He had a preseason. He was in camp. And he had 6 games and practice, and we should have seen improvement, and I didn't see a lick of improvement from week 1 to week 6. He missed a screen pass.
I mean,
he threw an incomplete screen pass.
So what you're saying is he forgot who he was.
Maybe he forgot who he was, or maybe just who he was never really that good.
He had all this practice, right? And he had all this time to prepare and he still couldn't do it like somebody else we know.
T, I just I know you're trying to rap.
It's the same argument. It's the same argument.
But I'm going to ask you, how successful
argument.
can you be? How successful can you be at any level as a quarterback if you're not reading what's going on post snap?
Or you won't be successful.
Do you
honestly,
think he's making post snap reads
wrong.
based on what you've seen?
I
Or do
hope
you
you're
think
wrong.
he's pre-snap reading?
I think it's a lot of rust there. Honestly, man, part of it is coaching too, bro.
Could be.
Part of it's coaching. Now, hopefully Stefanski remembers who he's supposed to be next year and gives up offensive play calling to somebody else and just focuses on coaching. Now, one thing I can say about Ryan Day is he did say he's giving up coaching, play calling next year.
Yep.
To focus on being the head coach, which is something you need to do. Now, Ryan Day does that, I'm on board with you beating that school of North next year and going win a title. Because there was too many distractions that man had going on down there. I've coached middle school, JV, and freshman football as the head coach and a coordinator. It's not easy at that level. Imagine at the pro level how hard that could be. Now, some guys have been able to do it. It's difficult. I pulled it off, but I had hours and hours of game planning before I stepped on the field. I had every scenario in my head broken down. 3rd and 14 on their side of the ball. Am I running? What am I running on this situation? Every situation had to be different.
Yep.
So
I've always said I've never been a fan of continuing to do the play calling. You hang on to it because it's what got you there. But hanging on to it's what's going to get you kicked back out of there.
And that is so true.
Far more often you're going to flame out if you keep the play calling. But
it's too much.
It's
too much to manage. You manage our whole team. All right, we can close out with that. Until next time, Scott, enjoy. Lewis, appreciate you, man, as always. We will see you guys in 2 Wednesdays.
Yep. Take it easy, everybody.